fast you were going?
What? How fast you were going?
I don't know. 10?
8.
Be advised, this is an explicit podcast. If you're easily offended, get your panties twisted into a knot. Leave now. Run in your safe space. Get your little cloth for your tears. All the opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and his guest and do not reflect the opinions of any local or government agency. Welcome to Motor Cop Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Iceman. Before we introduce the guest here, which we got a special guest today, we're going to do the housekeeping out of the way because I almost plumb forgot about some of y'all, which I'm going to apologize for, but I didn't forget because I just remembered. We're going to get the Patreons out the way real fast. People that are helping me pay some of my bills. We just doing the clubhouse members because this is a Sunday episode. We got Mr. Hoppy Hoppison, our favorite truck driver. We have Mr. Christopher DeMars. He is back. We have Z Palmer. We have Miss Lawrence Dempson. We have Roy Spalding. That's Roy with an S, not Roy with the P. We have our favorite girl from down under, JoJo. We have Miss Kaylee Norris, Natasha A. from Washington, and our OG clubhouse member, Melissa Holstein. Go like and subscribe. Go follow the private Facebook page, the clubhouse. I'll have links for it in the description, in the description area because I know it's hard to find. You can get your merch at the Etsy store. You can go to the website, www.motorcopchronicles.com, and it'll bring you to the website with the merch if you want any. You can join the Patreon if you want. And if you like cigars, you know where to go. Go to mypatriotcigars.com. The United States business, premium cigars, ships them out fast. If you use the promo code MotorCop15, you will get 15% off your entire order. Any orders over $100, you will get free shipping. So without further ado, I'm happy to announce it's the first time I have two guests on. I'm going to say from the great state of Texas, both in law enforcement. Dad is also a motor cop, which a little bit conversation beforehand. Believe we have probably met a couple of times and just don't remember at motorcycle competition. His daughter's a cop, and I think if I remember correctly, they got a whole bunch of other cop people in their family. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Y'all go right ahead.
Sure. My name is Haley Morrow, and I am a police officer with the Beaumont Police Department in Beaumont, Texas, and I'm joined with my dad, who is also a Beaumont PD officer, and I'll let him maybe talk a little bit about himself. But also, yes, you are correct. Basically our entire family's in law enforcement. So my sister is a 911 dispatch supervisor, also with our agency. And my brother is an officer as well. He used to be with Beaumont PD, but he is now with Chambers County Sheriff's Office, also in Texas. We do get asked if my mom's in law enforcement. She's not, but she is definitely the glue that holds us together. So we are, a Blue Bloods family. So.
And Matt.
Oh, and yeah, I'm sorry. I'm also married to an officer, and he is an officer at the Beaumont PD as well.
So I could imagine what y'all's holiday or just weekend dinners together are discussed about.
Yeah, I mean, Dad definitely thinks that Blue Bloods and Tom Selleck is, the show Tom Selleck is in is about our family. And
well, he calls me about once a month and asks me for ideas for the show and stuff. So,
well, if you actually have Tom Selleck calling you, I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah, well, don't be,
I would
because
be.
also about half of the things that come out of his mouth, you're going to have to question on their accuracy. But
we're gonna
no,
have to
Tom doesn't call it.
We're gonna have to fact check them.
Yeah, fact check, fake news.
Yeah.
But no, we are a really close family, and we all do different things at the police department, which is probably a good thing. And we get together a lot. We spend a lot of time together when our schedules allow it, and we definitely do have some interesting conversations around the table, and a lot of competition on who has the better call or story or whatever. Who's more popular?
Who's more popular?
That's the topic of discussion.
Oh well, it's got to be Dad because everybody loves motor cops.
Well,
absolutely.
He seems to think so, but he doesn't have 3,500 followers.
I have to go, towards Dad though.
Well, I don't have a Facebook and I don't have media, and I still have as many people that know me as she does. So
something like that.
I mean, maybe not nationwide, but local. So
hey,
my name's Bobby Rector. I'm a motor cop with Beaumont.
So, but when you probably when you go to Walmart or something, everybody knows who you are, right?
Yeah, and that's funny you said that, because my wife and I try to go really early in the morning, or later at night when it's not that it's not that I don't enjoy running into people. It just sometimes it gets to where, a 30-minute trip to Walmart turns into an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes. So we try and go early. And I live in the hometown that I was born in. So I've lived here basically all my life. Now, granted, our town has grown incredibly over the past 10 years. I can remember back in the 70s when our town didn't even have a red light. And we had 2 restaurants, and that was it. We didn't even have a Mexican restaurant. Now we have a lot.
But is it real Mexican restaurants, or is it Tex-Mex?
Well, Juan's is pretty as close to. It's run. One of our restaurants is run by a Mexican family. They're all Mexican family, and yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty popular.
Yeah, we got a food truck not too far. Some people bought the grocery store, local like A&G place, and they put a food truck in. The husband's American, but his wife is Mexican and stuff like that, and it's like authentic. It's like real Mexican food. It's not like Tex-Mex at all. And first time, and he'd tell you, look, you ain't getting, you're not going to get the local Tex-Mex stuff. Just going to taste different. So
right, yeah.
But when you can go to a place and order a taco with cow tongue in it, you're there, right?
Yeah, or tamales made with cow head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the good stuff. Yeah.
She's shaking her head over there.
Now, Tex-Mex, your cholesterol points go up about 3, maybe 4, but with like real Mexican food, like the authentic, like that, you go up 6, 8 points on your cholesterol after each meal. Well,
you gotta watch it, because I'm not very PC, but if you don't think the Hispanic people, they're Mexicans. They're from Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
They're from Mexico. They're Mexicans. I'm from America. I'm American. It's like if you're from France, you're French or whatever. I'm not trying to be racist, but the Mexican people, I bought some. I told the story before, but I went to the little local store. It's Mexican now, and they had these watermelon like popsicles, and watermelon is delicious. And to have a watermelon popsicle would even be more delicious. Well, it's not good when you don't read Spanish or whatever.
Right.
Because I got home and I was going to eat me one of these delicious watermelon popsicles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I don't know who in the hell thinks it's a smart idea to put like hot pepper spicy shit inside of my sweet, delicious popsicle, but they did.
Right.
They did.
Yeah.
And it's it's not right. And every time I go there now, the lady behind the counter, I look at her, I'm like, does this shit got peppers in it? Because it's like they put peppers in everything.
Everything. Yeah. Well, before I was a cop, I was a structural steel superintendent where I ran a big steel fabrication shop, and I had a Hispanic guy that worked for me. One of the best guys, one of the best workers I've ever known and I've ever had. He was one of my fitters. And when I first met him and hired him, I referred to him as being Hispanic, and he was not offended, but he set me straight. He said, "I'm not Hispanic. I'm Mexican." And you'd be surprised how many true Mexicans, they don't want to be called Hispanic. They're from Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
They're proud of their heritage, very proud of their heritage. And he said, "You're from America. You're an American. I'm from Mexico. I'm Mexican." He said, "I don't know of any country named Hispanic." I'm like, well, okay.
So, with you being I actually found you because I ran across one of your lives on Facebook.
Right.
So, how is that? I see you do a lot of. I've seen you taking a lot of pictures and stuff like out in the community, and you're not just sitting around like waiting for new stuff to hit. You're actually like almost like a community cop, also, besides just being the public information officer.
Yeah. So I began at Beaumont PD in 2014, in January of 2014. Everyone has to do 2 years on patrol, so I did that. I grew up being a police officer's daughter and always just admired law enforcement in general. And then decided that I wanted to go to the police academy, which Dad wasn't super excited about, but pretty much told him that, I was trying to decide between being a teacher and being a police officer. And, he definitely wanted me to go the teacher route. But my brother had gone a year before me, had gone to the police academy a year before me. I rode out with Dad when I was 18, and I absolutely loved it. I just loved the brotherhood and the camaraderie and just what law enforcement stood for in general. So, of course, I decided to do that. And so after 2 years in patrol at BPD, you can put in for a specialized unit. So I had always grown up just really admiring, in our area, there were 2 female PIOs who were always like doing Crime Stoppers and always on the news. And I thought, that might be something I want to do. But even when I was on patrol, I was just super community oriented. I was one of the officers who got out of the car and played with kids in the street, basketball, handed out toys every time I got a chance. So that's what I was passionate about. So put in for the public relations unit and got it in 2016. And so, yeah, we do a lot more than just, my role is so much more than just PIO. It's what I primarily do, but it is community relations all the way. I'm the neighborhood association liaison. So we have like 14 neighborhood associations that meet, each month we pull crime stats, go to the meetings, really heavily involved in every aspect of the community that we can be. So the way the whole Facebook thing started was after Harvey happened. That was kind of one of my first big events, I guess you could say, disasters, where I was on CNN, the Weather Channel, stuff like that. And I never thought about people watching those news segments and then going and Facebook stalking the person. And so that I got a couple of friend requests and messages, and I was like, oh, I don't like that. So I created the public page. And also just, Beaumont is a bigger town than where I live. I live in a town outside of Beaumont, but if you're the PIO, we're on the news at least 2 times a week, at least. And so a lot of the Facebook friend requests they're mostly from people who have good intentions. Obviously, they think they know you because they see you on TV, but I still am really protective of my family, my kids. And so I didn't want to start accepting friend requests. So it just made it easier to create a public Facebook profile. Ended up getting, you can only have 5,000 friends. So I ended up getting at that max. So was the fair in May?
Last year.
May. In May of last year, I went ahead and created the page because you don't have a cap on how many followers you can have. Because I really, I was in the police academy when the Michael Brown situation happened in Ferguson, and really that was the first incident that I kind of watched unfold in the national news, and it really just made an impact on me, where that narrative was really shifting as the anti-law enforcement kind of deal. And it wasn't what I felt like I knew to be the truth from being the daughter of an officer, and then being in the process. I was in the academy at that time. So being in the process of becoming an officer, and I was just really impacted by it and wanted to do everything that I can. Obviously, I can't change everyone's viewpoint on law enforcement, but if I could just make one small impact a day or just anything like that. So once I created the Facebook page and started really trying to put out as much good as I could, it's just kind of gotten bigger. And, people in the community are so nice. I can't go anywhere now, even Walmart or anywhere. It took about 2.5 years for people to start recognizing me outside of uniform. And now,
Don't know what I did.
I was like, what happened? Okay. We're still good?
Yeah, we're fine.
Oh, okay. But now I don't really go anywhere where people don't recognize me. And so I just take my role super seriously, and believe that any positive impact can make a difference just for law enforcement as a whole. And so that's my goal with the Facebook page. I like to do the little safety videos as often as I can. I usually do them kind of in tandem when there's a situation that happens in the city that makes the news. I learned really quickly becoming the PIO how easily I can stand up and do a 10-minute interview and 1 30-second soundbite is used. And I was like, man, that wasn't even the best part that the people need to hear. So I was like, you know what? Facebook makes it really easy for you to be your own spokesperson. So I just kind of started doing that.
She refers to herself as a public figure.
No, I don't.
That's
oh
all,
my God.
that's all right.
You have to choose.
My wife tells me to shut up all the time because I told my wife, I said, you know how lucky you are to be married to a pod star?
Right. Yeah.
Well,
social
media makes it really easy.
She's like, you're not viral. Shut up. You're not that important.
I wouldn't consider myself viral. On Facebook, you have to choose when you're creating a page, you have to choose what it's about. And public figure was the only thing that made sense. She's
popular. I mean, at our local fair, we have a state fair here in town. All of the trailers, what do you call them? The business, they sell the food, vendors.
Yeah, I love food.
Even the ones from out of town, when they get into town, they start seeing her on Facebook, and when she walks by, they're like, hey, can you do a promo for us? And oh yeah, she goes over there and takes the snapshot instead of her this food vendor and puts it on the Facebook. And, for that week, instead of making $5,000, they make $25,000.
Okay, it's not that serious. But I am a foodie. I am a foodie. That's just like one of my things. And so at the fair, people are always asking for pictures, and I like food. And one of the things I do at the fair is like try to eat all the great things. And so I was like, why not? Well, I would love to support, I love to support local businesses, and these are all small business people that come. I want the fair to be successful. And so I started going around and eating. People are like, try ours. So I'm like, God, I gained 10 pounds over the 10 days, but it's a lot of fun. And really, I mean, the food thing is fun, but what I really like and why it reminds me to keep doing what I do is when the little kids, run up and want to get a picture. And I always have, actually, probably have it in here. I always have police badge stickers like in my jacket, and always giving kids some stickers, and because a lot of when kids come in contact with officers, it's either that they're being told that we're something that we're not, or my least favorite thing. I think every cop's least favorite thing.
I know where you're going.
You know exactly where I'm going.
I know where you're going.
See that police officer, if you don't act right, they're going to take you to jail.
Yep, I hate it.
I hate it. And I give a lot of presentations throughout the year I mean, just to give you an idea, in the month of October, I drive a pink police car in the month of October. I'm sure you've seen the pictures. I don't know how long
I
it's been
did.
on
I didn't know if that was just like some kind of weird thing you had going
It's
on. There,
actually a fundraiser for the Gift of Life, which is one of our local organizations that help fight breast and ovarian cancer for women. And so we started it in 2019, and it's a fundraiser. So it's a vinyl wrap. It peels off the car at the end of the month, but I go, businesses sponsor it, and I go, they usually do like a 2-hour event or something. I go and sit there, and all the money goes to Gift of Life. And it's just a really great PR thing. But in the month of October is obviously my busiest month. I worked 100 hours of overtime.
Wow.
So lots and lots of events, but I give a lot of presentations, and I'm always like, I always tell that story, you know, with kids. When I'm talking to kids, I'm like, if anybody's ever told you that, it's not true. We don't take little kids to jail. So,
but our chief, she's actually in her element. And over the time that she's been our public information officer, she's, I guess you could say she's reconstructed the entire element of the unit because of how much she does. Our chief is extremely public oriented. I mean, we do so many public things, you know, because he wants to connect. He wants the police department to be connected to the public, which I think is great.
No, I agree with it. I'm believe it or not, even though a lot of people don't believe it. So many people that I used to work with is I'm 100% for community policing. I mean, I've always carried, and I actually buy my own stuff, like little stuffed animals and all this other stuff, and all this stuff, and carry it in my motorcycle and my unit. So when I come in contact with kids, or especially during the summertime, I'm the cop. I will drive up. If I see a bunch of people at the park barbecuing, I'm going to pull up, not to get the food, but I'm going to pull up. I see people outside in their yards, I stop. Because I feel like this, if I'm going to get out and I'm going to interact with the children, which gives me an opportunity to interact with the parents.
Right.
And let them all know that I'm not the bad guy. I try to emphasize the people, uniform guys, when you're driving around in the neighborhoods, and we all know which neighborhoods I'm referring to, the not nice neighborhoods, don't just drive by and give everybody the stink eye, because not everybody in there is breaking the law. You got some people that are just stuck in situations or whatever, can't afford to move. So, and those, sometimes even the people that may be breaking the law, just get out of your car and speak to people. If you just drive down there and you're looking at people, they look and say, "Oh, he's just trying to catch us doing something." I mean, that's basically what you're trying to do. Get out and talk.
it reinforces
get out and talk to the people.
It reinforces the negative ideas that are there, and so it takes officers who are willing to, you know, sometimes you have to go above and beyond to, you know, when one officer screws up, it gives us all a bad name, and so we have to kind of go above and beyond to repair that damage, even though, you know, sometimes it's not necessarily fair to us that we get. You know,
I talk about how, you know, you don't see the news coverage and all that stuff on all the good stuff that cops do.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that.
That's why I do the Facebook page. That's exactly why we used to do a thing several years ago when I first got into community relations. It was a partnership we had with one of the local media outlets where it was called like Good Deeds Officer of the Month. And we would highlight an officer's like a little promo commercial that ran on TV, and we would highlight an officer that did something, you know, whether it was, they answered a call for service where a kid's bicycle was stolen, and then they went and bought a bike with, you know, money out of their own pockets, which we know those type of scenarios where officers have paid to put domestic violence victims in a hotel for the night. They bought food for the homeless person, all kinds of things like that. They happen all the time that you just don't necessarily hear about. We would try to, you know, let people know. But it's so hard because most officers don't want the attention. They don't want to tell somebody that they did it because they don't want to pat themselves on the back, or that's not why they did it. But just from my position and my standpoint, my views have changed a little bit over the years being in community relations, because I see how much of a difference it makes by putting that stuff out there. And while some officers look at it and it's like, oh, it's self-promotion, or, you know, you're just trying to make yourself look good. Well, no, we're trying to make law enforcement as a whole look good and speak to the things that they do all the time.
Well, nobody up until this point realizes that I carry a brand new child safety seat in the back seat of my truck.
Yeah.
It's not for my kid. It's not for my grandkids. But I've stopped many people that I've told, you know, that didn't have a child safety seat, and I write them a ticket. But I tell them, if you can't afford a child safety seat, my office number and my name is on this citation. Call me and I'll provide one for you for free. And so I carry a brand new seat in the back of my truck, and it stays there for that opportunity. You know, I'm not trying to seek no notoriety. I don't want a pat on the back. We have a thing over here where TxDOT, they provide a 40-hour course to be a child safety seat technician. And I used to be one years ago when I first got in the traffic unit. But as busy as our unit is, it's, oh my God, it's crazy trying to make the recertification each year, because you have to go, like I had to go to Longview for the first class, and it usually ends up being another city in the state to keep up your certification. And my certification expired. And so, we can get child safety seats from TxDOT, but you have to be a technician to get one.
Yeah.
And I just don't have time for the course anymore. And so, you know, I mean, I can afford, you know, $50, $60 to buy a child safety seat.
Yeah, because I don't know about, we got something like that here. I don't think about, I guess they do. I don't know. I went to a class, feels like a million years ago, and the lady with the state that was putting it off, she didn't have much of a sense of humor. Cause I'm kind of a jokester, and she didn't like me much. Just
okay.
you crack one joke, and I mean, it's like, lady, it was just a joke. I wasn't gonna really use duct tape to keep the kids secured in a car seat.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it would take skin off. I'd use masking tape instead, because it'd be more gentle on the skin. So,
right. Exactly. And don't use a nylon rope. Use cotton. Cotton rope works good. It doesn't burn.
And this is why he's in the traffic division.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a traffic cop, so I know. It's like, you give people a break, and they still call and complain on you.
But our department is very public oriented. We twice a year we have the Citizens Police Academy. That's really cool. I teach in that, and I've been teaching in that for the past 16 years, 17 years.
What is that? That just is it for like reserves, or just to give the citizens some insight on what y'all do?
Yeah, it's called the Citizens Police Academy. We hold it twice a year. We do the semesters January to May and August to December. It's one night a week, Thursday nights from 6:30 to 9, and we do a background check just because we want to make sure that the people coming in are, vetted. And they get to hear from someone within every department unit within our agency, and a couple of other agencies participate. They do a few things, but it's just to give people a more realistic and accurate understanding of what we do and why we do it. We love for people to go through the course that maybe aren't on the side of law enforcement or are skeptical about us. And it's just a really, really great way for people to bust all the myths. And once, most of it's in the classroom, and then towards the end, we have a couple of hands-on, we go out to our training range, and they get to go through practicals where they are the police officers, and we role play like traffic stop, building searches, disturbances. We also have a system called the Milo system, and it's one of those like shoot or don't shoot scenario things.
I was going to ask if y'all had one of those simulators. Because
that's an eye opener.
I was going to say, because that right there, with a lot of civilians, if they could go through that kind of thing, that would open their eyes. Because I'm willing to bet that over probably about 90% of them shoot an unarmed person in the
Oh, yeah.
whole aspect of it.
All the time. And actually, our agency requires us to do Milo training twice a year. We have to qualify on top of our regular firearms qualification courses that we have to do quarterly or monthly if you're a rookie. But and we do the Milo courses for de-escalation purposes. And so the person who's controlling the Milo while the officers are in is really controlling it based on how well the officer de-escalates the situation. And, the controller gets to decide, how it escalates or if the person gets upset.
But the Citizens Police Academy, truly, over the past 20, 25 years we've had it, and I'm not embellishing at all, has changed the hearts and minds of thousands of people who go through that. It's a 14-week academy.
Yeah, they get to shoot out of the range too if they want to, and then once
they get to drive.
Oh, the driving thing has gone back and forth, but I don't think they've done it the last couple of years.
Like EVOC or just?
No, they drive our police cars. We set them up in our pursuit course.
Yeah, like ours is called, our driving simulating, it's actually driving. It's called the EVOC course, where basically you're almost got to change tires at the end of it.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Over here we call it
NAPD.
NAPD, yeah. Yeah, we have to change tires. Yeah,
after they go through it and they graduate, then they can ride out with an officer. So they can do a ride along, which is even better because they get to really see, front row seat. And then once they have also graduated, they are part of our alumni association. So our Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association. They are mostly retired people, but some of them aren't retired. And they help us out at the fair. They run our Lost Kids booth. We have a lot of kids who get separated from their parents out at the fair. And then they volunteer at all of our Cops and Kids events. They have monthly meetings and really help us with any type of events that we need. They're great.
They come to all of our
huge
events
supporters of the department and stuff like that. And then if you want to be even more involved, we have a Citizens in Action where once you go through that, you go through a little extra training, and those are mostly retired people, and they go out and write parking violations because our officers are really busy, so we don't have time to go write a handicap ticket or a fire lane violation or whatever. So
that's really fun though, man. Because they get on, we operate on four primary channels on our radio, and channel 1 is priority channel always. Channel 2 is all the other stuff, traffic stops, case numbers, call for records. But they're allowed to they talk on any channel. They can talk on 1 if it's an emergency. But they get out on channel 2 and they get on the radio and they're like, voluntary 124. We'll be out on a handicap violation writing tickets. And wow, man. It's so awesome, man. And
great program.
They're usually in their, they're usually retired. They're retirement age, 60 to 75, and they how we are when we get older. We can't hear, and things go a little slower. And they're volunteer. What was our number? And they're still keyed up on the microphone. Volunteer. What was our number again? 124. Oh, volunteer 120. We're listening. It's freaking awesome. It's crazy.
So that's what you're going to be doing in a few years, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're going to be out in the parking lot right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when we got the new motorcycles, Burmaster, we had to push the talk on the handlebar,
Yeah, that's what we had.
And you're a motor cop, so you know how it is to, you can't push that button with your thumb and manipulate that clutch at the same time. It's not going to happen. Okay, well, Burmaster was trying it. He was making a traffic stop in front of Target, and he's like, 481, I'll be out on traffic and on the service road in front of the Target shopping center. I'll be out on Texas ABC 123. We'll be on the service road. Stand by. Wait, stand by. And well, he's trying to hold that bike button and release that clutch at the same time, and he jumped his clutch. I know that's what he did. And he jumped his clutch, the motorcycle dies, and he's still keyed up, and he's like, GD, son of a, and then it stops, and he's like, 481, did that come over the air? And they're like, 10-4, and he's like, well, shit, I'm sorry. And I was like, oh my God. But
it happens.
Yeah, it's good times. This our citizens police academy is really great. I've enjoyed that for I think 17 years, and I still love teaching that.
Yeah, I think that probably
great.
would be enjoyable. Sounds like y'all have the chief there.
The chief is really, that's one thing we love about him, is being so public oriented. Even our traffic unit, we escort all of our 5Ks. We usually do just public wise. We usually do an average of between probably 40 and 50 scheduled events each year, whether it be a 5K or a parade or the Cops and Kids Halloween trunk or treat. I mean, we do a lot of stuff. You know, we take our motorcycles and set some up in static display at different functions.
Touch a truck, all kinds of stuff.
Touch a truck, yeah. We go to Touch a Truck where we set up all the police cars. Of course, there's concrete trucks and everything else, fire trucks. The Touch a Truck this year, there was probably 70 or 80 displays.
Wow.
And it brings the kids out there, and they love it. And naturally, they love the motorcycle that goes woo woo with the flashing lights. You know,
I love the parades, especially. We just had some recently, and some of the other guys. The department I was at was bigger than the one I went to, which I enjoyed the smaller department better. It's just,
yeah.
But
yeah, I'm sure.
But because I mean, everybody, I have people. You're not going to try to make rank. Nope, don't want no more rank. Had it been there,
Yeah.
got the the Boy Scout patch for it, and I don't want it no more. But one of the other guys looked at me and says, "Are you trying to give a high five to every child in person in the parade route?" I said, "That is my goal."
That's your goal.
That's my goal, because I'll drive right next to them slow, in first gear, and just, barely moving and try to give high fives to every freaking single person I can.
Oh yeah, we now me and a couple of other motor guys go over. We have been for years. Go over to Galveston and work with them on their Mardi Gras. But me and Bird and some of the other guys in our department used to do it both weekends, but now we have our own Mardi Gras, and it's actually this. Our one weekend Mardi Gras is the second weekend of Galveston's. But yeah, I'm trying to find a picture in here.
Be able to see that.
You might.
Right there. You just passed it. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I don't know if you can.
You cannot. No, maybe.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, I can see it.
Well, it's all about for me, it's all about the kids, and the people.
Who was that lady giving you a kiss on the cheek?
Oh, I wasn't sure if that was a lady at first.
You wasn't supposed to see that.
Lord.
Yeah, no, she's okay.
I'm kidding.
But
he
yeah,
does do well. He does do well for community relations if we can just keep his lips zipped for the most part. But
and man, that's what I do.
It's just being a motor cop. You will get molested by women.
Oh yeah,
you can't hit it.
Absolutely.
It's the bikes, the boots, and the pants. I mean.
Yes, it is. Yeah, we can't talk about that.
But there are officers that. Not to segue into another subject, but there just are some officers that get it, like the light bulb clicks on how important community relations is and stuff like that,
well,
taking the time out to...
I try to tell them, something, especially these younger ones, it's like, trust me, if these people know that you're not just out there trying to put every one of them in jail and that you're just like them, it'll make your life a lot easier. And stuff like that when it comes to work wise. I think, and I'm not trying to down the younger generation, trust me, there's some damn good kids out there. But as great as technology has been for society, it also has hurt it so bad where like social media, which I'm glad for it. I couldn't be talking to y'all right now, but social media and like text message and all that stuff is also so bad for society because this younger generation, A lot of them don't have. They don't have communication skills.
No,
No,
they don't.
You can't go on a call and text somebody, and you got to be able to use your words. And a lot of them are so socially awkward when it comes to that now, and it's like, yeah, they need to talk.
Yeah. Well, and my first, my third through my 10th year, 11th year, 10th year, I was a field training officer, and one of the things that I taught my rookies and I taught my kids, when you first make contact with somebody, be nice. Be nice every chance you start off being nice. If you have to go into the a-hole box, get pushed there. Don't walk into it. Get pushed there. Always start off being nice. I've worked with some guys, when I started 21 plus years ago, I worked with guys that started off with the I'm the cop and you're beneath me, and you're going to do what I say, and that just wasn't me. When I went through my psychological exam, which we're not going to say much about that, the psychologist literally told me, he said, this is not a pass or fail course. And he said, but the last thing you need to be is a cop. And I was like, why? And he said, you're too nice. He said, but it wasn't that I was too nice, but he said, what's going to happen with you is I was not a type A personality. You are not going to see danger. You're not going to perceive danger. You're going to walk up to the guy with the gun in his hand. You want to give the guy a hug, and you're just not set up for it. And that was a problem for me during my training. I nearly lost my job over that because
you were really too nice.
Horrible. I was really too nice.
Wow. Well, I've never had that issue. That's my nickname, the Iceman.
Right.
But
my safety was horrible. It really was. It was bad. For the first 3 years, I didn't mind sitting with my back to the door. But it was something after.
Now we fight over that at a restaurant.
Well, you got a whole table full.
All of
yeah,
it.
after
like,
yeah, really.
A straight table with
all on one side facing the door. But after about 3 or 4 years of being a Beaumont cop, not starting in a small town but starting in a bigger town, it was something that I learned. And now for me it's a switch. It's a click on, click off. But even nowadays, like we were talking about going to Walmart earlier, when we were talking about going to Walmart, here in my little hometown, I used to I wouldn't carry a gun off duty. Really? Whatever. Yeah, ain't happening, man. I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt. No, I don't even go to our local Walmart right here in our hometown without a gun.
Well, back in the the 90s and stuff like that. I mean, it wasn't really, when I first started, I became full-time in 95. Still wasn't that bad. I mean,
right.
The department I started with, when we first started, we didn't even have portables. I mean, there was like four of us in the entire, y'all have county, 700, almost 800 square mile parish. There was four of us working a night shift. I mean, the same department. That same department now. They're running. They're not as big as y'all, but compared to what they were, they're running like 15 just uniform guys per shift, plus the detectives and civil division and motors and all that stuff. Like now, like I said, when we first started, we didn't have portable. We still, dispatch wanted you to give them a call. You either have to go to a business or put a quarter in a payphone.
Yeah. Or you get a page, they page.
Yeah.
I need to call dispatch, So, when I started, we had radios that were the size of a brick. As a matter of fact, a couple of our officers.
You were late in
I was late. I was in 2001, but we still had a radio the size of a brick long before you ever saw. I mean, there was some of our officers actually used it as impact weapons. I mean, they were like, "Hey, man, where's your impact weapon?" It's my radio.
Yeah, I was that big mag light. We had one of them. We used to carry them big D-cell mag lights that had like 8 D-cell.
Yeah.
It's like I could like reach out like across a grocery store aisle and pop somebody in the head with it.
Yeah. So now all the officers are carrying those little
they're like this big.
Stream lights.
String light. Yeah, they're like 4 inches long.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't even throw it at somebody.
No, you couldn't even poke their eye with it. It's so small. It's like, come here.
Yeah. So
Because
things are a lot different.
I never carried an asp or nothing like that. I still I have a taser. Tell you the truth, but I just still carry my chemical weapon. I usually leave my taser in my unit.
Yeah.
It's like I
turned my taser in because they told us, they said you can carry a taser or you can carry pepper spray. And, when I first started, I mean, when you first started, you're proud to wear the badge and the belt and everything. And I had 2 sets of handcuffs. I had three spare magazines. I had my pepper spray. I had my impact weapon. I had my ring for my flashlight. Hell, I barely had room for belt clippers because when I first started, I was 155 pounds and had a 30-inch waist, and, so I barely had room. I had room for 3 belt keepers, and the belt weighed about 28 pounds. And now I'm 21 years into the job, 56 years old. I got 1 set of handcuffs. I got rid of my taser about 10 years ago. I got pepper spray that expired in 2005.
I guarantee it still works.
I'm down to 2 magazines and 3 magazines if you include the one in the gun, and none of those are full. 16-round magazine. I carry 12 in each one. Because that crap, man, now my belt's down to 21 pounds and it's still too damn heavy. I got 4 collapsed discs in my back. I've got a torn rotator cuff in my left shoulder, a broke humerus radial at the top of my right shoulder. I got 2 bad knees. A foot chase? Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, that you sound like me. I've been over the hood of 2 cars, and one of them. Everybody's like, "How's that?" I said, "The flying part's not bad. It's that sudden landing that really hurts." The last one, when I got ejected off the bike, I went over the hood of the car and it spun me around. So I didn't know, I couldn't tell where I was at. So I just tucked up in a ball and I landed flat on my back on the blacktop concrete. Well,
oh wow!
So
that sucks.
And it's like I've done besides the duty belt for 27 years, been run over twice. All the other stuff I've done in my body, I've been dog bit, cut, people bit, and all this other stuff. All that stuff has definitely took its toll on my body. It's somebody's they're like, "You don't ride as much as you used to." I'm like, "Yes, because my back hurts a lot."
Oh man. Yeah. In my young career, I say young, I was 33 when I started, and I got a late start, and but up until that time, I was in the steel industry, and I worked at a shop. I was brought up in that business, and we had an overhead crane, but we were a busy shop, and I was the foreman, and so it was my job to get jobs pushed through, and it'd be somebody, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, what my worker would be like, well, I'm waiting on the crane so I get that piece of angle iron, put it up on the table. And I was like, hell with that crane, get on that end, I'll get on this end. We're picking up a 900-pound piece of angle iron, throwing it up on, and I was bad about tearing up my body. I was. I go to the gym about 3 times a week nowadays, and some of those young guys are like, "Hey, man, come work out with us." And I'm like, "Are you out of your mind?" Really? No, I do as low impact as I can,
Yeah, people's like, I'm like running. The last guy.
No.
The last guy that took off on foot on us. I happened to be already on my motorcycle, and a uniform guy just said, "Hey, guy," and he was just going to tell him to pull his pants up. And the guy took off running, and
Right.
I happened to already be idling, and well, I guess from where I work now, he didn't realize where I used to work, and you should have seen his face when he turned around and looked and realized I was still behind him, even though he was running through people's yards.
Right.
And I was like, and I just looking, I'm like, I'm not going to get tired, but you are.
Oh yeah, you are.
Like,
you're gonna wear out eventually, but as long as I got gas, I'm good to go.
So yeah, we caught him because this guy, a couple weeks later, we had another foot chase. They caught the guy, and I looked at him. I was like, "Didn't we just chase you like 2 weeks ago?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Have you figured out that you're not really good at running? I mean, you might just want to stop. We done caught you twice in 2 weeks."
Yeah.
Stop
Well,
running.
we've got a few like that. They take off running. I remember one time we were on patrol. I was on patrol working midnights, and the guy takes off running and in one of our neighborhoods, and I hadn't even got out of the car yet. But some people just ain't cut out for it. Because what does he do? He runs 3.5 blocks down the road.
And you just follow
And
him.
I'm like, I just followed him. Yeah, I just followed him along. And, we went about 2.5 blocks, and he just gave up and lay down. I ain't even stopped the car yet. He's laying on the ground in front of me. And I'm like, so I get him handcuffed, got him put in the car. And I said, man, can I ask you a question? He said, sure. I said, why did you stay on the road? He said, because I don't know where I'm at, man. This ain't my neighborhood. I didn't want to run through somebody's yard and not know where I was at. And I'm like, okay, well, it works for me.
Well, where y'all at, it sounds like, well, of course it's Texas for one thing, but it sounds like y'all have a lot of community support towards the police. It's not one of them big, F12, ACAB. I mean, you're going to have it. Everybody gets it, but it's not like as bad as some of these other areas.
We definitely have a lot of community support in Beaumont. We do get social media makes it super easy because anybody can sit behind a keyboard and, talk trash from their mommy's basement. But for the most part, in the city, and people are always bringing stuff up to the station. They provide lunch for the officers. They
be careful with the brownies. Just saying.
Yeah.
We haven't had any issues yet, so hopefully. But yeah, we just like any other agency, we've had our fair share of the cool kids who try to record or some YouTube video that gets out where it shows 3 seconds of something that doesn't look that great, but nothing else for context. And our Facebook will get blown up from, people who aren't even from here, but we really have a lot of great community support.
Well, that's another good thing about having a PIO that is, I pick at her about it, but Mama's always saying how she's the beloved cop. Everybody talks about Haley Morrow. But in all seriousness, she does represent our department, and you'd be surprised how many people or how few people will get out there and they'll start bashing her or bashing our department, and then because of her connection with the public, she don't have to run to the defense. The public will actually go out there and be like, "Hey, you need to shut your pie hole."
That's one of the reasons that I started the Facebook page too, was because, I can kind of get away with a little bit more of saying things like people know if it's coming from me, it's official. It's just as much as it's coming from Beaumont Police. I run the Beaumont Police Facebook page too.
Yeah.
There's a couple of us that have access to it and do that. But, there are things that the police department officially they're not going to address. One of the things when I created this Facebook page a year ago at the fair was because of this chick made this Facebook post about her kid being abducted by a carnival worker.
Oh, yeah.
And it was this big debacle. Of course, it got shared and went viral locally. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Because, the news or anybody, people just share it. If it's on Facebook, they share it. And, of course, the news media started reaching out to me. Well, we have and I was working it. We had no record of what she was posting. And, the first question I always ask the news media when they come with an inquiry about something is, okay, has a police report been filed? That needs to be the first question you ask this potential person that you're going to interview. Has a police report been filed? Because if a police report hasn't been filed, if we don't know about it, we can't investigate it. We need to have a complainant. And so I reach out to this chick. I start doing my own, digging to find out the radio traffic. Because we have a ton of lost kids at the fair. They're not abductions. There is a bunch of lights and a bunch of people around, and little kids wander off, and that's why we have a bunch of officers out there and a lost kids booth. The YMBL pays a lot of money for that to be a secure place that people can come and have fun, and we want to make sure that there's not a bunch of misinformation going out there like a carnival worker's abducting a kid. So we don't, as a police department, as a PIO for the department, that's not something that we're going to address, right? We're not going to, if we were constantly addressing Facebook posts, we would be drowning in it. So, But I took it upon myself to investigate it. We literally looked into it. We went over to the ride that she claimed he got pulled off of the back of, tried to see if there was a trap door. I'm talking above and beyond to dispute this. I talked to her on the phone. She's sticking to her story. Well, ma'am, you really need to come in and file a police report so we can really investigate this. She blows us off twice. She's a no-show, whatever. Okay, so it's baloney. The kid got separated and whatever.
But, what it turned into, it ended up making it all the way up to our upper echelon, our administration, that we had possibly had this abduction. And Haley was not going to let that, because we do have the most secure fair that I've ever known of. There's a police officer at the only way you could get a kid out of that fair is if you dug a tunnel under the fence, or you're able to get you and the kid over an 8-foot high fence that's got barbed wire at the top of it. Well, but otherwise you couldn't get a kid out of that fair without our knowledge. And Haley spent 2 or 3 days on that.
Well, I wrote up a whole narrative about it. I just wanted that. So that's where I said all that to say that with the Haley Morrow public figure, I hate, everybody gives me a hard time. A lot of the guys at work give me a hard time. Oh, you're the face of the department. It is a literal joke between the chief. Every time he sees me, he's like, oh, there's the face. It's a joke. But I don't necessarily, I laugh it off. It's whatever. It doesn't hurt my feelings or anything. But I just wish that people realized that it's not me. It's not about self-promotion, about Haley Morrow, this public figure that is a beloved officer in Beaumont, Texas. That is not the goal at all. The goal is to humanize the badge. Every now and then I make pretty long little sentimental posts or whatever you want to call them about. I did one on April 15th of 2020, and it was a child drowning at our event center, which happened to also be the day that my first blood niece was born, and how that kind of affected me. Not because I was the officer that jumped into the water and heroically tried to save that child, because we had 2 officers that did that, but just to try to humanize we're people too, and we're affected by things too. And I did a post earlier this year about the Uvalde shooting, and it was a post about us around the dinner table, which sparked somebody that I know locally who is a host on a TV show for a local church wanted to interview me. And so, I'm always humbled by anyone who wants to, have us on a podcast or whatever. But I just want to always make sure that people realize it's not about me, and I'm not trying to promote myself. I am just in a position where I have a platform that I can represent the badge in a positive light. And so I hope that just touches somebody and makes them realize that, there really are a lot of great officers out there, and they're human too. And
truly, she has my heart. because when I went to work here, that was, I didn't like the stigma or brand that had been put on cops. So that's part of my class when we have that Citizens Police Academy is I started off years ago. I started off teaching what's called patrol procedures, what cops do at nighttime. And it was an hour-long class. But over the years, I changed my course, and which is still patrol procedures because I was a patrolman for 11 years before I became a motor cop. And but it's also it's titled Patrol Procedures and Cops Are People Too. And because I don't like the idea that cops are robots and we're built on an assembly line. I mean, I can just imagine how many funerals you've escorted, how many cop funerals you've escorted. I know I've been to and escorted my share of them, and what I really hate is people don't understand that cops have feelings. We hurt, we cry, we bleed just like everybody else. The only difference between us and them is we went to a class where we were educated and we were trained to do what we do. And that's the only difference, because that really is the only difference between us and the public is we went to a class that was put on by the state that educated us and trained us to carry a gun and enforce law. That's it. That's the only difference. And I say the only, and we have a heart to do what we do, because people forget. I really think people forget, like the Boston bombing. You can sit and watch the videos, and when those two bombs went off, you can watch hundreds of people that are running away from the blast, but you see a bunch of guys wearing uniforms running towards it. What possesses a man or a woman to do that? And I truly believe it's something that's instilled in them, and by God. I really believe that. That's something that's put in their heart by God. And imagine what this world would be like, if there weren't people guys out there doing it. And girls. I mean, guys as a whole. But the public forgets that. The public really forgets that. And, these northeastern and western states that are having problems with, defund the police, it's not the people who live out in the neighborhoods like you were talking about that are wanting to defund the police.
Nope.
It's
they want more
them.
cops.
They want more cops,
it's politicians and
it's politicians,
these social justice warriors,
who don't need law enforcement,
exactly.
Who live in a secure enough neighborhood that they don't need law enforcement. They just want to have a stage to stand on and talk.
Can afford private security.
Absolutely, yeah. So they're the ones who don't really care.
I guess because I doing this and stuff, I read a lot of news stuff and watch. I mean, I'm constantly, looking for material and stuff like that. And I guess it's hard, maybe for y'all too, also, because, I'm in Louisiana, y'all are right next door in Texas, and, we're both basically in red states. And I see a lot of this stuff that goes on up north, and I'm like, I couldn't even imagine, I'm like,
oh God.
I'm like, no, I was like, most departments down here wouldn't even allow that. They were like, no, they would shut that down like right away.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, I mean, I know there, you always have a few, we call them the silent, well, not the silent majority, the loud minority.
Yeah,
it's a
they're not
small amount
silent.
of people who are the loudest. the silent majority is the supporters, but I don't think anybody ever really had not anybody in a position to do anything about it anyways, had a idea to want to defund or anything like that. But that would not happen here. I mean, and I did get asked that question when I filmed that episode for the show that's going to air in the middle of June last year. It was a surprise question that wasn't on the list of questions that I was prepared for, which I can talk off the cuff all the time.
Did she try to get you? She tried to get you one of them moments?
No, I don't think so. I think that it's truly a question that a lot of people are curious about. But I don't need to. Nobody has to. You didn't provide us with any questions. Nobody has to provide me with questions. I could talk easily off the cuff about anything, and I'm an open book. But the whole defund thing. I mean, my response to people when they bring that up is just like, wouldn't you want the best trained police department that you could possibly afford? I mean, wouldn't you want the most well-paid, well-trained, funded in all the ways officers? Because that's going to be the better. I mean, we all know that poor funding means poor performance. Yep. So that's the complete opposite of what you're trying to go for.
And right now, a lot of these departments, department I work for has 0 openings because I work for sheriff's office, believe it or not, that my sheriff I work for takes care of us very well, and he takes care of his people. I've worked for 4 different sheriffs, and I've never worked for a man that cares this much about his employees. I'll put it that way. I mean, I've worked with some good guys, but never to this extent. But a lot of people.
Well, that's saying a lot because right now everyone's hurting for people.
A lot of people still because I'm still full time. My hardest part doing the podcast is getting people to come on, retired or not, because of social media policies. I understand. I mean, when people say I can, I mean I totally understand. So I am one of the lucky ones that is allowed to do it. Because if not, I wouldn't do it because I've been doing it too long. I just can't say, well, I'm just going to quit and go do something else. Not, I can see the finish line right there. I like to cross it. So I am one of the lucky ones. And it sounds like y'all are too with y'all's chief and stuff. But it seems like the people in Beaumont pretty damn lucky for the police force they have out there, it sounds like to me.
Tell you the truth, I think seriously, I think we have a fantastic police force. I really do. We have a hiccup every once in a while. Past history will show that.
Well, we're dealing with humans again.
Yeah, everybody, there's no perfect people out there. Like I said, in cops or people tell me so. And everybody's like, oh, this bad cop did this or that. It's like, yeah, but I think it's less than 1% of total interaction from the millions that are happened every year that are bad. Yeah. But that's the only ones they highlight.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people ask me, I say a lot of people, we all got asked about the, what was the guy on the neck? George Floyd incident, And that's one thing I'm willing to tell anybody. The last 12 people that guy wanted on his jury was 12 good cops, because 12 good cops would have asked for a death sentence to do that. And what was that cop's name? I forget.
Chauvin.
Derek Chauvin. Yeah, the last thing he wanted on his jury was 12 good cops.
Well, my thing with that was, my first thing was you got them in the car. Why did you take them back out the car? Roll the windows down. You have medical coming. Stand there and talk to him while he's doing it. But you had him in the car. There was no reason to take him out of the car. And like I said, that right there was the first thing. There was no reason to leave somebody in that position that long. I believe it was a combination of drugs and the whole situation combined. But there was no
Really
reason.
recognize that when
You had four. You had four cops there. Once he was already handcuffed. Just sit him on his butt on the curb. Anyway, but once you got him in the car, there was no reason to take him out of the car.
Yep. You know, that's what I mean. Good cops know that, and that got out of hand. And I think that was.
I think that was a lot of his ego got to him with all the people saying, "Oh, stop doing this," and he's like, "Oh, they're not going to tell me what to do."
Right.
So,
yeah.
But you know, so yeah, but it's like, it's. I've had to make. I mean, I'm sure you've had. We all have. That's got a badge on it. You know, we got to make split-second decisions. Knock on wood.
Absolutely.
Knock on wood. I've never had to pull the trigger on a human being in the line of duty. I mean, I'm sure you have, just like I have. It's been out pointed at people, and you know, I've gotten very, very close, and
many times.
But I hope, and I tell everybody, I say, I hope if I can retire, I got 3 more years. If I can retire and never have to take another human life, that'll be one of my biggest, you know, accomplishments for, you know, my whole career. And I try to explain that to people. I'm like, cops they might have 1 or 2 out there, but most cops don't get up, put their uniform and duty gear on, and go out to work and say, all right, how many people I'm going to shoot today?
Right.
No.
Exactly.
It's the last thing we want to do. So,
well, and something I tell people too, that, you know, cops, law enforcement, not cops, but law enforcement is the only profession in the entire world. And it really is, if you think about it. We're the only profession in the entire world where we're held to a higher standard as a whole rather than individuals. You know, you get a doctor who tells you, and I teach this in my class, you get a doctor who tells you have a bad kidney, we need to remove that kidney. And you wake up the next day and you find out the doctor removed the wrong kidney. Who do you blame and who do you sue? That doctor. You know, you have an electrician that wires a switch up in your house and the house burns down and the fire marshal says, well, somebody wired the switch up wrong. Who do you sue? The electricians. But you have a cop that goes out and does something stupid like that. And who does the public blame? They blame every cop in the nation. We're the only profession that's held to a standard as a whole rather than individuals, because 99.9% of us are out there putting our life on the line, trying to do the right thing for a public that we don't even know.
Or a lot of them don't even like us. But we but we'll still. I've been told somebody that before in a parade. This girl, she's like, I ain't shaking your hand. I'm like, that's fine. I said, but just know this, ma'am. You don't have to shake my hand or even like me. But if you need help, you call, because I'm going to come to help you.
You call me.
So
right.
I mean,
well, and you know, how many funerals have you been to where they quoted the scripture? And don't get me wrong, I don't want to take anything away from God. But where they quoted the scripture that what is it? Greater love hath no man than this, that he laid down his life for a friend. You know, I love that scripture. It's a beautiful scripture. It really is. It's wonderful and it's amazing. But it says lay down their life for a friend. Cops go out there and lay down their lives for people they don't even know. It has nothing to do with friendship. It has to do with the calling. That's all it is. You know, how many times have cops died for people that they haven't never even met? I'd be willing to lay down my life and without a thought for my family, my wife or my kids, for my family. But they're friends, you know. But cops go out there and do it for perfect strangers. Military guys go out and do it for other people in other countries.
Yep.
There's no higher calling. I really don't believe there is. There's no higher calling. Firemen, all first responders, military guys go out there and put their lives on the line for perfect strangers. And people forget that. They forget that. They really do.
Oh, yeah, they do. Like I said, most, not all, but most, the majority of all first responders going to get out there and do it, and we don't want no reward. That's how many times you see, they interview, cops or firemen saves, drowning kid or this and that. And they're like, well, what happened? I was just doing my job.
Yeah.
That's what you hear every single time. I was just doing my job.
I don't want no notoriety. I don't want no notoriety. It's a calling. I'll get my reward later on.
Catch you get your daughter look at her looking at her daddy like that. That's so sweet.
Yeah. She's really fortunate. She looks like her daddy too.
Oh gosh, I don't know about that. We have the same nose.
Okay, we got kind of sad, man. Let's get back on a happy note.
There wasn't nothing sad about saying, "Hey, people, I'm proud of what I do."
I'm very proud.
I feel bad for some of these other people in some of these other states. They almost got to hide what they do for a living. I'm not. I'm proud of what I do. My wife's proud of what I do.
Yeah.
Hell, your whole family. You got everybody in your family is first responder.
Yeah. I'm proud of that, and I'm sure there'll probably be more that take up the reins
and you're a motorcycle cop on that. So you ought to be proud.
Hey,
motormen scare other cops.
Yeah, they do. I got asked about that one time, and I know you'll agree with me. Motor cops are really a tighter group. When we get together at the competitions, you take two motor cops that are perfect strangers, and by the end of the night at the awards banquet, they'll be best friends.
Yep.
I do have to say it is really cool to watch the motors. We had our Blue Santa toy delivery Thursday evening. I posted some pictures today on that, but we went to 18 houses and dropped toys, and it's a big deal. We have our Blue Santas dressed up, and we do this big convoy of police vehicles and the trailer with all the boxes of toys and stuff. And I always love being in a procession or an escort. It's who doesn't like busting through red lights and doing lights and sirens? It's fun. But God, it is so cool to watch the motor guys, zipping in and out. It makes me a little nervous, but they're just so good at, zipping in and out of traffic and the leapfrogging, the bump and goes and all that. It's a blast.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think next year you ought to wrap your motorcycle pink.
that's not going to happen.
That might be an idea.
Not doing
that.
No, the pink police car is my thing. Don't try to steal it.
Okay. All right. See, got to be on top, man. You got to be on top.
I try.
Yeah. So
I'm the only one that's ever driven the pink police car for BPD, and it's fun.
Well, it'd be a pink motorcycle. It's totally different.
Well,
No.
that would be.
No, let me tell you, no.
And you could
It is
play.
fun,
You could
but-
play "I'm a Barbie Girl" over the
Yeah.
loudspeaker.
It is fun to drive the pink police car, but by the end of the month, I'm ready for the wrap to go, because I drive an unmarked car, because I do respond to scenes. I go to all the homicides and fatalities and all that, SWAT call outs, but I'm not a marked unit. I just need to have lights to be able to get, where I need to go. So in October with the pink wrap, from the day I get it till the day it comes off, there's no question about where I'm at, at all times. So by the end of it, I'm ready to go back to black. So, anyways, our AirPods are going to die.
Yeah, well, we're a little over an hour. I appreciate. I think. Are you still there?
Are you still there?
No, I can hear you.
Oh,
her.
My AirPod died.
I'm still working.
Okay, I can hear. I can see you. I appreciate y'all coming on. Don't hang up yet, and hopefully we'll get them back. We're gonna close it out. Y'all go like and subscribe. Y'all know always hang out on Wednesdays for the live shows, and
Right.
we'll see y'all in a little while.
Okay. He was taking out.